talking. So technically, we're now they'll probably be hearing us talking. How am I going to kill that? Well, I can kill my mic. Nah, they're going to hear it anyway. So technically, they've got a blank on at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it now.
We've got one. Let's see.
Carl Hamilton's saying hello.
Yeah, let's go to. They'll probably be able to hear me talking. So one day I'll actually get this sorted out where because these things are great fun, but especially when you're streaming someone in, you want to be able to hear it. You've got to get it working, and then I've always wondered if there's a way of actually turning this. Right.
Okay, so I'm hearing everything.
Okay.
About 20 seconds behind.
It's always going to be like that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm going to mute. I'm going to mute the stream. So
yeah, because
then
exactly. Yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you play your stream, it's going to echo into the system.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah.
It'll pick up in your microphone. So that's why I have the actual live stream on a headset, so it's still there if I want to have a listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people can hear us talking. That's fine.
Yeah. Hello.
Right. To be honest, everyone, we're live. So as usual, everyone, this is me just making a right, mess of this. So let me put up the nice screen of this. That's not the one. Let's put that one up. Right. We've got 28 people here now, so what I'm gonna do, so I can swap. I'll introduce Rob now. Well, actually, Rob, you're gonna introduce yourself, to be honest, mate. But I'm gonna just basically say, most of you are gonna know that this project is not just about a case. It's about a hell of a lot more than just a case. And a big part of it is electronics. Now, I the only thing I know about electronics is how to burn myself with a soldering iron. I've put some bits and pieces together and so on, and hashed bits and pieces, like that. But nothing. So I went on the lookout to try and find something. It's actually, I saw a board that was made, plugged into the side. And it had an 86, I think, one way, and it had a Zorro 2 on the other way. Or it might have been actually 86. Was it a Zorro 2 and then an 86? I think it was, wasn't it? The
A500 connector is 86. Yeah.
So I saw that and I thought, I found my man, because that's exactly what I want. I know exactly how I want to put it in there. And then I'd obviously found the right guy for this. So that was when it was the usual, convincing. I'm actually a real person. I promise I'll pay you. La 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 la. So I thought tonight, usually it's me bothering other people talk, but this time it's really important because we're going to talk about electronics now. Now, at a certain point in time, I am going to try and monitor these questions as we go, and I'm going to cut and paste them. Rob's also going to monitor the questions, so we do this like we normally do. We'll do them in order. And the whole point of this is for you all to be able to ask Rob some technical questions that I won't know the answers to. I know the answers to some of them, but probably 90% of them I won't know. But before we do that, just an update for everyone, for those that are watching it now and are going to watch it later on. Some of you know that my plan with this has always been to do everything in the UK. And honestly, it's always been my plan. I priced it so I could do it, etc., etc. The metalwork is still being made in the UK. In fact, I went to see Henderson's the other day on Friday morning. I was there for about 4 hours. My mic's seized. No, my mic. Oh, come on. There you go. Sorry. So I went to see Henderson's, and we've literally spent 4 hours going through everything. My picture's breaking up here. Just ignore me. Yeah, hopefully you can all hear me okay. But that's because I've got a lot of stuff being copied, and I think it's getting the So I went to Henderson's, and we finalised all the metalwork and a couple of new parts. Everything's sweet on there. They're making the very first production run of 5. And so I'm expecting to get them the first week in January. However, on the plastics is a whole different story. God, these things are no. Let me see if I can refresh. No, it's back again. The plastics have been a whole different story, and I'd initially gone to China to get a couple of quotes, and then I came to a company called Protolabs, and Protolabs are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. The problem is that what's happened is that they've, over the last couple of times of uploading new versions, the price has gone up incrementally, and it's now gone up nearly 20% in cost, which is kind of killing it for me. So I'm pretty much decided I'm now going to China. I'm in discussions in China now. This is my plan. But now it does mean I'm possibly going out there to visit to do some other investigation work out there. But ultimately, there's a great company out there, and you know, with the discussions are going really well. I'm sorry about my webcam. The discussions are going really well, and I'm more than likely going to have this plastics made in Shenzhen in China. That does mean it's actually in some ways it's quite good, because it's actually freed up some extra cash. A couple of things I actually wanted to do, which I'm not going to mention now. I'm not going to talk about now, but well, I will mention one. I wanted to do a book, and we're going to do a nice manual, a ring-bound manual, really nice one to go in the pack, you know, easy to install guide, that kind of thing. So that's going to be done. There is something else coming as well, which I'll tell you about another time. But yeah, so that's an update on that. So the it looks like plastics are going to be made in China now. So you know, it's saving money. It means there's a bit more money for doing other things as well. So now, so let's get to the interesting bit. So I suppose the best thing to do at the moment is for Rob to introduce himself, tell us a bit about him that he can, you know, and not get in trouble legally. But just a little introduction for everyone while I try and figure out what's going on my webcam. Over to you, Rob.
Right, thanks, Stephen. Well, I'm Rob. I've been using Amigas for decades now, and kind of never really stopped. I kind of started back in the early 90s, and I've been using them all the way through uni, all the way along. But yeah, so I studied engineering in college, in uni, and then went into actually the medical devices field. So I design medical equipment for a living. That's my day job. Some of that used to be you know, automated lab equipment, some robotics, you know, for doing blood tests in hospitals, things like that. So that was what I was working on, and that's what I worked on for many years. And then the Amiga stuff is just sort of yeah, sort of is the hobby, basically, you know, doing my own thing. So so that's it. I'm Irish, obviously, but living in Glasgow at the moment, and have done for the last few years. So yeah, that's my life so far. Basically.
Cool. So you do have something in common with J Minor then?
It's medical devices, yeah, absolutely.
God, this thing. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to pull the plug on one of these cameras and see if it helps with. I think I've got two cameras going on here, and it's upset my. You know what really matters. You don't care about me anyway. So, right. So. As always, the PCB guy, yeah, absolutely right. Now,
yeah, that's me.
What we for those, let's just get. Okay, no, Carl, we'll talk about the keyboard another time, not today. Oh no, it's still playing up. That really is annoying. So for those of you who don't know, let me just switch to a different shot. Those who don't know. Oh, that's good, isn't it? I'll put you back in a second, Rob.
Sure.
God. Everything. Hang on a second. Let's get back to now. As usual, everything seems to be wanting to be a bit silly. So, it's always this thing where you have it all working perfectly for quite a while, and then you come in and actually do it live, and then things start going pear-shaped. Okay.
Always the way.
That's not wanting that at all. The reason I'm doing this is to show people a camera Hang on. Oh, yeah. This is going to be one of them days. Everything's going to be going pear-shaped. I'm going to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing it. So, this is what we. Well, let's go. Okay, let's go. So this is what we're talking about. I'm really going to be having a bit of grief here, aren't I? I'm sorry about this, Rob. It's just the
You're alright. You're alright.
no, my webcam on my laptop just keeps stopping for no reason. So for those who are wondering, I can move that way now. So basically, what we've got here is right. Because this keeps This keeps stopping. It's the wonders of technology. Right. So there's this board here, which is a Zorro card, and it keeps keeps freezing on me. Now we've also got another one, which I'm going to hold up, wait for it to come round again. There we go. And there's also this board, which you guys should see when it freezes. That'd be handy. It doesn't want to freeze. Yeah, there you go. So there's that board, and that's for the 1200 and the 600. And finally, when it comes around and decides it wants to work again, we're going to show this board, which is the LED board. And these are all the boards that Rob has done. There we go. Leave that one there because it's frozen again. So I suppose one question that people do ask, well, one thing is, why aren't the slots in line? God help us. I thought it was fairly obvious, but we won't bother answering that one. But so I suppose for me the one question was always, and I think people have asked this, is the subject of the Zorro 2. Can they be used at the same time as the 86-way connector? That's a question for you, Rob.
Yes, basically, yeah. So what you have there essentially is a pair of slots. So you've got two completely separate devices, and you can use either one or both at the same time, and that works fine. It uses the standard auto config. It's basically like having two slots in an Amiga 2000. So that's it. But just one of them is in the Amiga 500 format, which is the 86-pin connector.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I couldn't see a problem with it personally. I mean, I know if we go above the extra slot and go into like 2 sides, you get into auto config. And I remember James at Checkmate, and anything, I think it was above 1. When you get to 2, 3, 4, you need auto config, and there's a whole lot of electronics have to go in there.
Well, it's not even so much you need more buffering really. It's just that the signals, you're pushing it to use too many devices off the signals as they are.
Yeah.
But it does. It fully supports auto config. That's fairly standard. So the two devices will cooperate if they're designed to do that.
Yeah.
And that'll be fine. The main thing that's missing from it is DMA. So if you have a DMA controller on either one of the slots, well, chances are it won't work properly or won't play well with other devices. So that's the only thing, is that you can have exactly one DMA device, and anything else is sort of unknown territory after that.
Yeah. Okay. So does that mean that's it? If you've got both cards in, or even if you've got say you just literally only using the Zorro 2?
Yeah, that's if you're only using the Zorro 2, then you're fine. Yeah. But there aren't that many DMA cards anyway. Most cards aren't DMA. Like graphics cards aren't, memory cards aren't. What you got is a few SCSI type controllers that are DMA. But it's why I'm not sure what the benefit would be of using a DMA card anyway, when there's not really a whole lot on the A500 motherboard that you would be DMAing to. So if you have an accelerator on the CPU socket, then yeah, I suppose so. But then you probably also have your own storage on that accelerator as well.
No,
but like the thing is that one DMA device will work. It's just a matter of whether it plays nice with the others. Then that's the thing.
Yeah, see, I've always seen this. Well, no, I suppose it's not true actually, but the thing for me was always I like the idea of having the 86, so you can put something in, for example, like the Indivision A500. Oh God, what's it called? Is it
the ACA 500.
That's the one. Yeah. Put one of them in there, because I've actually had this running. I've got that running, and I've used it with I get my Ariadne card. So ultimately on this machine, my main machine with it, I'm going to be putting in one of the video recording cards in that I've got, which is what I plan to use with that, but not necessarily using the 86. So for some people, they're going to want to use it. So for example, I see it's like if you've got yourself an A500 Plus in there, and then if you can put a graphics card in it as well, then you're kind of really making quite a nice machine when you put an accelerator into the A500 as well. I think you just make
absolutely,
a fantastic machine. Do you know what I'm going to do? I am actually going to kill off my picture here because it's doing my head in. Right, that's doing my head. They're just going to hear me. Then I can concentrate also on reading the chat. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions here. What Jan says, China is cheap, then the slot-loaded brackets. Oh, hang on a second. There was one in China. No, Jan was saying expected to go to China, but in the molds also go. Yeah, the molds. That's what I'm talking about. It's only the molds that are being made in China. Although that's not true because we're making the boards in China, aren't we?
Yeah, boards and the internal cables are coming from China as well.
So the boards and internal cables, the front plastics. Unless this changes, and then you never know. Proto Labs may come back and match the price. I don't know, but they know the score, and I've been straight with them. But so yeah, the mold, all the front plastics, the metalwork, and everything's been made in the UK because ultimately it's really heavy, and I don't want to ship all that. So that's the molds in plastic. Question. I'm trying to. Let's have a look at these questions. Will there be an Ask Me Anything kind of later on the show tonight? Well, yeah, later on, yeah, definitely. I mean, right now I want you to ask questions for Rob. How long are you on for tonight, Rob? I mean, is it an hour? Is it
an hour, I suppose. Yeah, well,
yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes that's not keep me chatting, till late in the night, and the wife wonders if I've left her. Okay, right. So, I really got the. Now, someone's asking you a question. I don't know if you've seen that one about connecting. This is nothing to do with the cat. Oh, it might actually, maybe later on.
Yeah.
I've really got the need of a PCB that makes it possible to connect to an A500 keyboard and an A2000. Oh, you've seen that one? Yeah,
I see that one. Yeah, is that not what the keyrod does?
The keyrod. No, I don't. No, the keyrod doesn't take the i. Well, as far as I'm aware, it would solve me a few problems actually. As far as I'm aware, it only takes the 2000. Sorry, the 1200 and the 600 ribbon cables, and that works great. But I'm not too sure about it. I don't remember seeing pins for the A500.
Because if the A500, 2000, 4000 all use the same protocol, just different physical connectors. So if it took one of them, it would take them all. I don't know. I haven't actually used one myself, but I know they're used for the 600 and 1200. So that's a shame because at some point it would be actually very easy at some point it would be very easy in that process of conversion to add compatibility for a 500 keyboard, but I guess it just didn't happen.
It could be that I've actually not read it properly and not actually been driven to want to do it. The first thing, for example, I didn't think it had the LED ports for the 1200. It's actually got the LED ports connections on the keyrod, which is actually quite handy. So, which is kind of sent me back to the drawing board with the other keyboard case. But yeah, so that was quite interesting. But yeah, as far as 500, I mean, I think. If someone wants to open up the manual and have a quick look and then just prove me wrong, I'm just trying to see if I can get another.
Yeah, so Jan's saying that no, that's only the 600 and 1200. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But
right, bear with me a second. Right, what else have we got here? Anyone know when the Standalone Vampire's being? No, stop asking when the Standalone Vampire's being released. No one knows. You'll know when it's released because they'll tell you. In some ways, actually, it would have been nice if they did a Kickstarter. But the trouble is that they're an absolute nightmare to a lot of work, and most people just think it does take quite a bit of time to do to set up a Kickstarter. Well, I'm trying to try another camera here. See if I can add. Nothing wants to work today. Yeah, nothing wants to work at all.
Well, I don't think it's vapor, as in, you know, they're...
No, God, no. Not at all.
They have a decent track record of releasing stuff, whether you agree with what they're doing or not. Yeah, no, it's like there was a video not so long ago about of the V4 standalone booting, so it works. Yeah. It's just not it's just a prototype at this stage, but it's on its way, you know.
I mean, it's like with the other ones. They you know, it's always the way. It does take quite some time to do this stuff, and you know, people are impatient because everyone wants it, and I really do understand. I mean, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm doing this, setting this up as I'm talking. It is absolutely amazing what they're doing with it. But yeah, it's something people are just going to have to be a little bit more patient about.
Seamless.
It was that was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's the one built into my laptop. I think it's because it's just that was going to start playing up now, isn't it? I suppose let me ask the question. Someone mentioned about my new case. Okay, sorry, the keyboards. I'm going to cover this briefly, okay? Because that's not what today's about. Okay, so you can see I've got the cursor keys in line now, okay? And it's taken a key raw. Okay, so this is all working nice. There's also on the back here, there's for a DIN socket. The only thing at the moment is the LEDs. I've only got 2 for 500, and of course, I originally wasn't thinking that you could have the connections. Because you can, I've got to stick another one of these cutouts for the 1200. But yeah, so it's basically, everything's kind of boiled down to this now, which is, and that's I can't do anything about, which is this screw. And it's the same as the original cases we made 30 years ago. They had these 2 little screws. It's 2 at the front, 2 at the back. There's no way I can see of actually at the moment of doing it so that you can actually put it on top. Because people say, oh, just, you know, hook it over. Because I originally thought hook it underneath and then flap it down, but you can't do that with the keys. So it's been, you know, I think ideally we're going to get smaller, really tiny little, neat little screws. But now the prototype's ready, so it's a case of now I'm going to come back to people soon with a separate video, and we'll discuss where we go from here. Because as some people know, the patrons have paid for all this, and I obviously want to make it available. As I said, I've got a couple there going out to a couple of patrons, really, just to test the things, and then we'll go from there. Right. Let's have. Let me just go for this. Right. Most of you, are you keeping an eye on the questions as well, Rob?
Yeah.
Because I can be sometimes. I miss them sometimes.
Well, I'm thinking there aren't that many questions, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, that's the board at the moment. Hopefully people can see that. That's the main board. This is the old one because I've already swapped it out.
It's not a repeat. It's not a repeat.
Yeah. So this is to me, it's most important board. But if you've got a 500, you can use this one. But if you've got a 1200 or a 600, you can't. That's where this board came along, because a lot of people are asking how this worked, and I'm going to try and get this so everyone can see it. So if you can see this board, is that coming across on the screen? It's looking a bit dark. Maybe it's just the way I've got it positioned. Right. So it wants to freeze as well. So this board screws into the same fittings as the other board, but it solves one main problem. Is it obviously means you can power the Amiga from the internal 300 watt, whatever it is, SFX power supply. But crucially, we can get this so people can see it. This little one here, I've got the same problem. It's not as bad though. Right, this here has got the little screws. Oh, you've got one. Oh, yours is looking great. Right, why don't you? I tell you, Rob, can you just explain the whole thing, how it works, and because I'm just
sure, yeah. So basically, this guy will fit into the power socket on the back of the 600 or 1200, and it's just basically a replacement for the weird square DIN connector that they use, and it connects with a short cable to the other board, which is where the actual controlling of the power supply is done. So the small board, there's a question there from Bruno's asking, will it work on the 500? It will work on the 500. I don't know if the case accommodates that, but it works. Electrically works fine.
No, it will, because I've made the same cutout on both the back panels to allow it.
Yeah, there you go.
We can't do prices yet. We're going to come to that because I can't do the prices yet. Sorry. It's not going to be expensive. It won't be expensive, but I don't want to release them yet. This is actually quite important because, especially, say for example, you don't. I mean, I can see that a lot. If you've got a Vampire, you might not want this board anyway, and it is going to be more expensive. Whereas this one is obviously going to be a lot cheaper. So this might be your option anyway. You might not want that other board. The one thing that Rob did kindly put on for me was a couple of fan headers. Not that I think the case needs fans, but there's a couple of fan headers on both boards. So I think, and to be honest, I mean, I put it in and it fits beautifully. It's actually a really nice, neat little device. And it's really, I think it's foolproof. I'm hoping it's
tempting fate there.
Foolproof. Yeah. But the one thing we were saying was, no, it won't come with it, but there'll be designs for do you want to hold yours up and show them the screw?
Well, yeah, there's a screw hole in the center there.
Yeah, so the idea of that is so that you will design a back piece that goes, so it screws onto the back of the board, so that you've not got them pins exposed at the back of the case.
Yeah,
they won't come with it. I mean, it'll be just something that we'll do that people can either print themselves or order it. I mean, even if you get it off of the Shapeways page, I think it probably that kind of size would be about £8, something like that. But yeah, so we can do that as well. But the key thing was that I want to make these quite cheap because I don't want people using their external power supplies. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, in the old case, you had no choice. It was powered by the Amiga 500 power supply. That was one of the first things I wanted to do with this system, was have a nice, neat little power supply. And you pick the power supplies up for £30. 300 watts is enough for any Amiga. I can't believe any Amiga is going to pull that amount.
No, an Amiga only takes it's like a 1200, it only takes about 10 watts when it's running.
Yeah. Well, what about if you got something like a Power PC or, like...
Yeah, that's then... Yeah, then you're talking more. But even an 060 is, 30 watts, 40 watts maybe. So, a 300 watt power supply is far more than you need.
It's not... It's not over the top usage. So I don't think you can get the SFX power supplies that are less than 300 watts.
Probably not. But
you can pick them up for £30, so that's all good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. Sorry, go on and say.
Just Carl has a question there saying that there's still a square cutout for the brick, so you can connect to the original power supply as well because the same space is open for both.
Yeah, it's still there. You can use it, no problem at all. Because, I know some people are probably going to buy the case and then build it over time, and they may have pushed themselves to buy the case, and then getting this and getting the power supply, etc. May be a bit steep to start with, and they can just build it up as they go along. I mean, that's always the way it works, isn't it? But I think these I think this is probably way neater than I could have imagined, because I was a bit stuck, because I was thinking about maybe we go on to the connect on the board, and then Rob came up with this absolutely gorgeous idea, which I had no idea you could buy these pins. I didn't know you could buy them pins.
Yeah, you can buy kind of pretty much any pin you want, really. You just need to dig around for them. But yeah, you get all sorts of pins, and they're the same size as the originals. I
think that's absolutely lovely, and of course you've got the. I suppose the cables. Even I'm getting a bit confused on the cables, but there's one here. There's a couple of cables for like powering, etc. I think it's 2 cables we're putting in, isn't it?
So you've got that's cable that you have there is for the LEDs. So you've got.
So that's what I mean.
Yeah. So you got a bunch of different cables. So you've got the yeah, the power cable is one that just goes to the small power supply board. Then there's the LED cables, and there's a different one of them for the 500, 600, and 1200.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's it. There are also cables for if you're using it for a PC, and they're just normal straight through cables.
Yep. Okay, let me have a look at this. So PCB. Right. So I'm just going to see if I can catch up with these questions. Have I missed any PCB? No.
But yeah, Carl's right. It is basically it's yeah. I like I say, it's not actually my completely my idea. It's my take on the idea. But yeah, some of the tower solutions from the 90s did have a similar kind of connector, a 90-degree connector for the back.
Okay, Carl. Peter's just asked. Well, I don't know how long ago he asked this question actually, but so talking about they plan on Trevor and Eon are launching their Tabor card. Yeah, the Tabor is kind of coming out at the same time as the case, so May June time, which would be quite good. But I want to use my old A500 keyboard since I ran out of 12. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the whole point. I've got actually another chap called Carl. He's making me a custom cable. If you remember no, it's hidden away. The old one had a cable. So basically, a cable will come out. You won't need the key rail. You'll run a cable from here out and then to a connector on the back of the 1500, and you'll be able to plug that into there and use it. This is actually a 500 case, fun enough. So you'll be able to use the 500 keyboard. That's why this keyboard's this case is important. I know it. I mean, in an ideal world, I wish I could get rid of the screws. I really do, but I can't think of a way of doing it without injection molding the case. So, and I don't think we're going to sell the 1,000. So, but yeah, so that will work, and you'll be able to use your 500 keyboard with that, which would be quite nice. But if you've got 1200 or a 600, well, no, 600 no good because obviously the keyboard case is a bit big. But the 1200 keyboard, yes, it's designed already. You can put the key rail in it, but I think you saw on the back it's got the key rail in there. That plugs it, and it works just like a USB keyboard, and you can plug it into PC, plug it to anything. But then if you'll need something like a sum card, which I've actually got one that arrived the other day, which I haven't tested, or one of the others to plug into the 1200 to create the USB interface to plug it into. So as I said to everyone, it gets really quite expensive doing that. Or when I go out to China, I'm going to be looking for keyboards, but hopefully you can see my keyboard. Okay, so that is basically a standard mechanical keyboard, but with custom keycaps to match the Amiga, and I think it's a pretty nice little match, and I'm actually really pleased with that. So I'm hoping we might be able to do something like that, because we may be able to make a cheaper option now, so for keyboards, and keyboards are always interesting. Right, have we got any more questions on the board? Let's have a look through here.
So Bruno was asked if the LED board comes free with the case.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely right. It wouldn't work without it. I mean, that's I suppose it's a reasonable question. It does actually say on the, I think it does actually say on the Kickstarter that it comes with it. So it comes with that. It comes with the obviously the cables, but things like this are extra because obviously if you're building a PC with it, you don't need that. So so it's obviously not included, but everyone needs the LED board. So everyone's getting the LED board.
And it's the same LED board used for PCs and Amigas as well. So it has connectors for both.
Yeah, so which is really useful. The other thing, of course, some people have said about the back panels. There's 4 back panels, which I finally did. We tweaked them all. We got all the positions of the ports perfect now. So the 500 ones, well, the 500 was done. The 1200, 600 is now done. The horizontal PC one's done. And we've now done the one with the half-height vertical cards, which is the one I think would be useful for Tabor owners, which would be quite useful. But you'll be able to get separate versions of them. Is anyone asked? No one actually asking any technical questions. I think.
Well, I think Jan's asking about the keyboard compatibility. I think I'm not quite sure what he's getting at, but I think it's about having like an A2000 style connector on the Checkmate case. Is that what he's asking?
Possibly,
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, anything's possible. I mean, I'm not going to make an adapter for it, but I'm sure there's a way of working around it. Because I can't remember what the signals are. It's only 5 pins.
I know that there are only 4 pins used. They're the same, and they're the same pins as the 500 and 2000, 3000, 4000. All use the same protocol. So it would be very, very easy to do that, and you can even interface that to the 600 and 1200.
Right, in that case then, let's put it this way, because Carl is doing the cables, keyboard cable. I'll have a word with Carl, because he'll, and we can maybe work something out that he'll make, basically, because at the back of the case there'll be one of the, I haven't actually got one of the little DIN connectors on the 500 keyboard. It's an 8-way DIN, because it passes all the signals through.
It passes the LEDs as well, yeah.
So we can just do a similar one, but just with 4 pins or 5 pins for the 2000. I don't see that being any problem at all. So I can't see why you wouldn't be able to use that. I can have a word with Carl, and I'm not sure if we may have to give him the pinouts. But if that's the case, I thought they were the same. So I thought they were the same. So
yes, the 600 and 1200 keyboards are obviously different because they don't have the controller in them. So that's where you need the keyrat or some other kind of intelligent controller in there.
You need something like that on the back. So that's the keyrat sitting out the back, and you literally just connect it in the 1200 into this, screw it together, and you've got yourself a keyboard case. So and the other thing is it's made out of aluminium now. It's really funny. They said we'll make it out of steel to start with, because I kind of left it a bit late in the day to say about aluminium, and it turned up and I had to get a forklift to get the keyboard case out of the car. But then when these turned up, they're just so light, absolutely wonderful. But so they're going to be available. We can thank the patrons, because the patrons have been paying for them. So
okay, so there's a question from Bruno asking about how the power button works. So the power button is a standard PC power button, so it does need one of those 2 boards to switch on and off the power supply. So if you don't have one of those boards, you'll have to figure some other way of doing it. So either using an original power supply or some other solution. But basically, to use an SFX power supply or any ATX power supply, you need some sort of control, and that's how it's set.
Yeah. That is actually very true as well, because I've had to completely redesign the switch at the front, because originally I had one of those little flippy ones on the mic, and I designed it around that, and it works. Everyone sees it works, but it wasn't as nice. I've had to completely redesign the whole buttons assembly to use these little micro. Is there a technical term for there? I could probably grab one if I can, but it's just a little tiny plastic button with a micro switcher.
Yeah. So the one that's in it now is the small square push button, whereas the old one was a micro switch, a lever micro switch. Yeah.
This one's much nicer, because the other one I had to put 2 springs, and the springs were too strong.
Yeah.
This one I don't have to worry about any of that, and it's actually in some ways it's helped, and other ways obviously usual. It's always like this, but that might actually be a much nicer switch now, because we swapped over to that. But you're right, it has to plug into something.
Yeah, and it is just a push button. It's not an on-off switch. So it's like a PC switch. So it will connect directly to the PC motherboard. Yeah. If you're using a PC, and so it's that sort of compatibility that those boards give to the Amiga as well.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, it is really nice. So yeah, you do need one of these boards, and again, as I was saying, that you can do it. I mean, obviously, if you've got a 500, I think you really should be getting one of these. I know they're going to be a little bit more expensive, but I think you're going to be getting one of these, because it gives you more functionality. But this literally does the job, and it's I think it's actually quite neat as well. It's just tiny little board sits there, and it's really. Oh, I'll tell you one thing you could explain actually, because even I'm. Explain why, because people may ask the question later on, why there's the loading, the 5 volt, the 3 different loading sockets. Explain that. Yeah.
So basically, ATX power supplies are made for supplying more power than an Amiga needs, to be honest. And so sometimes they're fine when they're running at a low load, but most of them have a minimum load that they need to provide, or that they need to have drawn so that they can regulate properly. So some good power supplies will shut off if they don't reach that minimum load, whereas bad power supplies will let the voltage drift a little bit, and that's not a good thing. That can cause instability or even damage to the machine. So if you have a power supply that doesn't like, or that doesn't like the low load that the Amiga setup gives you, it is possible to solder on some big resistors onto the board and use that to sort of absorb some extra power. So it's a bit of a hack for basically turning excess power to heat. So it's not ideal, but ATX power supplies basically aren't ideal for the Amiga. So you really need to get one that has as low a minimum power draw as possible.
Yeah.
Now, the reason there are 3 separate ones are that depending on the power supply, you've got a different sort of main output, and all the other outputs could be either completely independent or could be sort of proportional to that output. So a lot of power supplies nowadays for the PCs, the 12-volt supply is the main power supply. And so everything else is just proportional to that. So if the 12-volt wanders up to maybe 15 volts, then the 5-volt will also wander up a little bit, and that's it. So so there are 3 separate pads on the board. So if you need to, you can add, let's say, a 10 ohm 20 watt resistor on there, and hopefully that might be enough to let it work properly without causing problems.
But hopefully we'll be using decent power supplies. So
yeah, that's the thing. If you pick a power supply that has a nice low minimum draw requirement, then it should be fine.
Well, I might just actually, the ones that we're going to use, I have no doubt the Corsair ones will be fine. But the cheap £30 one, I might send you one just to double check it. I mean, I haven't had any problems. But this reminds me back in the old days when we used to kind of, sometimes we would just, if we wanted to test something, we'd stick a drive on it just so there's something on the power supply to make it work. And now, someone's asked, Peter's asked a question here. I don't know if you actually saw this a bit further up. We've mentioned auto config compatibility. Is an official I think I know the answer, but is an official manufacturer number and an entry in the Amiga hardware manufacturer's registry on the table?
Yeah, no, this is just this is compatible with autoconfig in that it passes the autoconfig properly between cards. It's not a device in itself. It doesn't actually show up as a thing. It's essentially basically it's like the slots in the Amiga 2000.
Yeah.
So the slots themselves don't show up in the hardware. So no.
So that's okay. It'd be like that guy, the guy in the UN, and his kids came in. Do you remember that one? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I didn't think there's absolutely no need for an entry in it, because it isn't a device. It's literally just
it doesn't actually. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't actually have any active functionality in that way. Yeah. It just sort of provides the bus to devices and supports autoconfig between them.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some connection points.
Well, so there's a question there about the speed of the Zorro slot. It's the same as
Zorro 2.
It's a Zorro 2. It's the standard thing, because basically the 68,000 interface. So it's 3.5 megs a second, I think, thereabouts, which is not spectacularly blinding fast, but it's the same speed you'll get from an Amiga 2000.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Again, I mean, I've had this debate with people about, I always say, well, if you want to build a great machine, put a Vampire in it and something. No, I don't want to do that. Well, you'll be able to put a graphics card in one of these slots and they will work, but they'll work as if you plugged it in a 2000. It'd be identical. Except in this case, you won't have lots of other cards sucking bandwidth, obviously, because there's only one slot. So it will get the full data itself. But yeah, so it is Zorro 2.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Zorro 2 basically there's no buster. So but that doesn't have any effect on speed other than DMA. So it means DMA is limited, but the standard transfers work fine.
Yep, good.
Basically this will be the very same speed as the 2000. Now there's a couple of things in the chat there about keyboard signals and so the Rev 2 Amiga 1200 boards do have a header you can solder onto the board, and that provides the keyboard signals, and it's similar but not the same as the header on the Amiga 500. So you don't want to mix them up because they are actually laid out a bit differently. But even if you don't have a Rev 2, you can piggyback those signals from either one of the CIAs or the keyboard controller chip. Both, it's possible to both, and I've done both. So you often see these little boards that are sort of upside down sockets that just fit on top of the chip. One of them it's very easy to use one of them to give you the keyboard signals even on a 600 or 1200 of any revision.
Oh, okay.
And it'll give you Amiga 500 compatible keyboard signals. It does. You're correct. Someone said there it does not support the keyboard reset. That's the only problem. But there are ways around that. But I don't. Yeah, that's the only problem doing it that way.
Yeah, I finally got one of these the other day, which is they've been waiting for them to come in. Again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but let me see if you can. So that's the little people. Can you see that or not? That goes over the chip, and then on the other side, they've got like a little. I think it's a microcontroller, and with a header, and then the header connects onto that little cable, and then comes out the back with a USB socket.
Yeah. So that's the USB one, but you can do that as well for the Amiga 500 or 2000, 3000 signals.
To be honest, I know from history we just did the connection by cable. It's really simple. It's just it's a complex cable because there's 8 wires you've got to transfer through to do it properly. But I managed to track down the correct DIN connectors. Unfortunately, you can't get them white, so they're in black. But I've got them, so we're going to make up cables for them. Originally, with the old one, we had about 1,000 made in China. So if you remember, they were really the beautiful moulded ones, and everything was really nice. But there's not that kind of market now. So, but yeah, so that will be just literally a cable. So if you've got a 500, you'll be able to get the case, drop it in there, and it'll be a simple cable. Won't be too expensive to use it. I think the keyboard case is going to be about £39. Cable about a tenner. So it's still not cheap. Okay, if I could do it cheaper, I'll do it cheaper. But the other way, of course, is to go out and just buy a PC keyboard and do like I did with there. Get yourself some nice keyboard. And I've said that to a lot of people, but a lot of people want to use the 500. I understand that because I'm pretty much the same. But it's you just you're paying for a case instead of paying for a new keyboard, basically. But yeah, so it's all good. And these are I think they're nice little devices. There's a nice one for the 500. Sits on oh god, is it the CIA chip? Wasn't it? Did you say it goes? Or was it on Gary? I forget now.
No, CIA chip for that. Okay. It can also go onto the keyboard controller chip, which is the same size but a different pin out. Well, and that's how I've got 2 1200s here that I use an Amiga 2000 keyboard for. It's just there's no electronics involved. It's just straight connections to the chip.
Yep. Okay, let's. Can we cover a subject that popped up the other day, and I hopefully people didn't think I squashed the answer. It's to do with colour of the board. People are saying, well, and I know there's this remake of the 500 that's come out. It's red, and they want one to match it. And I mean, I remember when we did the boards many years ago, and I said, can we have a red one? It'd be really cool. But the reality is, as I put, 99.9999% of Amiga 500 owners have a green board. I think I'm correct on this. So having a green board made for it matches beautiful. Now, as I did say then, because I know I think Rob, you answered the question to say yes, we could do that in red. But I'm quite happy if it's possible. If there's a demand, and I don't mean a huge demand, but if there's a demand for people wanting them, once I've finished the Kickstarters and I've got all of them shipped, once that's all done, and if people do want a green one, red one, then I'll have a chat with Rob and we'll see about making some. There may be a bit of it. Well, there may or may not be an increase in cost, but we'll have to discuss that at the time. But potentially, but as I said, 99.999, however many places you want to go to, are all green. so it matches nicely. But I know people are saying about it, and it may be when we go to Germany, because a lot of people are getting the boards, aren't they? They're these new generation motherboards that have been basically clones of the original board, and they come in different colours. So, so that was that. Now, hopefully, people didn't think I squished them, but it's like, oh, well, give me a break. Can we just ship these boards, please? I just want to get these done. So that's all cool.
So the thing with that is that setting up a production run for manufacture is a pricey thing, for getting all the parts put on it. So there's no difference in price for the different color, but if it's a very small number, they'd have to be hand built, and if so you need a certain amount to make it worthwhile, unless you really only want to make one or two. So, and that'll they'll be quite a bit more expensive as a result. But so we have to see how it goes demand wise.
Yeah. Someone says too dark. So yeah, I think my problems with the light I think I've got the light in the wrong place here. There's a reset header on the 1200 too.
There's a place where you can solder one. Most of the chips have the keyboard reset. I think Gale has, and but the keyboard MPU has a keyboard reset as well. So you can, as far as I know.
Yeah.
If you're making a connection to that for the Amiga 2000 keyboard, you can also just add a header for a reset button.
Yeah. Someone's asking about. Well, someone's saying they're not going to put an Amiga. They want to put a PC or a Pi. I can tell you now, 25% of the cases are for people who are putting a PC motherboard to run Linux or whatever. So they, and at some point I'll be pushing on that a lot harder. But they're saying about using the 1200 keyboard with it, so with the key bar, and you just plug it in like a USB, and that'll work really nice. Now, I suppose the other thing is, of course, in the future, if Kipper2Ks, because I have had quite a long talk with him about his keyboard project, and they will be coming. So obviously, my case will take that keyboard. To be honest, it's going to be a very expensive way of doing it. But I'm still a big believer in, and this is one of the reasons, because with the going to China is, I'm probably going to be visiting China, and going to visit some manufacturers, and so we can look into keyboards and that kind of thing. But to me, get a decent quality keyboard with Amiga keycaps, I think is the way to go for that market. But a lot of people do want to. I think the fun bit. 75% of people are building Amigas in, so that's obviously a good thing. Some actually want to put Pis, which I think is a great idea. It seems like an awfully expensive case for a Pi. But having said that, it's actually a really cheap way of turning the case into a computer. So that's another way of looking at it. Right. So what other questions here? Because right. So for all of you out there watching, can you come back with some questions for Rob? Because I don't want to take it all of his time up. He's coming up. I think another 10 minutes. So if you've got any more questions for Rob specifically, and then after that we'll say goodbye, and then I'll just carry on for now. And let's see what other people come up with. I suppose while waiting for that, what was I gonna say? I've got myself. Some people might have seen. I got myself some new software. Finally got a copy of Can Do after all these years, 25 years. So I've got a few videos coming up on that. And I also ordered a copy. Rob? Do you ever remember a product called XCAD?
I do remember it. I remember it being the old school CAD. Mostly keyboard based.
Yeah.
I do remember it. Yeah.
It was when we first launched the 1500. We used to go to the shows and show XCAD and how good the Amiga was with it. And I've got a copy. I've managed to track down a copy, so I'm going to do a video on that. But now someone's actually come up with a question here. Any limitations on? I'll let you answer this one, obviously.
Any limitations with types of Zorro cards? Not really. No. Basically, if the Zorro card does DMA, it depends on how it's implemented. So I don't know, but generally the vast majority will just work exactly as they would in an Amiga 2000.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, as well.
Yeah.
And even a lot of the 2000 cards, sorry, the 3000, the Zorro 3 cards will work in there, but they'll drop down to Zorro 2 transfer speeds and 16-bit data.
A lot of cards are dual protocol.
Yeah.
There really aren't that many DMA cards, and even then, if it's done cleanly, it should work anyway. Yeah. So it's fine. I don't have any DMA cards here to test. I have one GVP card, and that falls back to normal transfers when it's not in a DMA capable computer. So it just works. So
yeah,
there you go.
Someone's Peter's asked a question. I suppose you will get a Checkmate case of your own. What will you put inside it?
I might not actually, to be honest. I might not, because I have no room.
No, see, that's the thing people forget. Is how much space have you got?
I am. You can see here, I'm in my spare room because I don't have a man cave anymore because the little boy has taken that.
Quite right.
And it is. It's full. Basically, it is full. So I don't know if it will, and to be honest, I don't know what I would put in it. See, I already have, I have a small 1200 in a case that I have in the living room. I have a 1200 in its original case somewhere else as well. I have a 1200 in a tower. All my other Amigas are basically motherboards. So, and then I've got normal towers for my A1 for 2 PCs, and then I've got a couple of laptops under there. There's a MorphOS machine. I have too many machines as it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on the number of machines. People know what I'm like. So someone's asked about does the PCU latch on so we can turn the Amiga off via software? So I'm definitely going to let you answer that.
Well, it does latch on, but no, it's not controllable by software. It can't be controlled by software. That would be a lot more complicated to do. So it's just very simple logic. It's a toggle action circuit on it, and that's all. So there are a couple of projects and hacks that do it, and I don't know if they all work the same way. It would be interesting to see if that could be added as a sort of a, it wouldn't stop this from working. It would just be an extra small board that fits over one of the CIAs or something like that. That might make it possible. But I know the mediators are able to do it, but I don't know what kind of registers or whatever they use. But it might be possible to do something at a later point.
I've just realised I've skipped 2 questions, so I don't want people to think I'm forgetting them. So Bruno came up. Does the power board have reset buttons, reset pins? Which I think is no, but
it does not. No.
Yep.
The power board for the 600 and 1200 doesn't actually connect to the 600 and 1200 other than through the power connector. And for the 500, it's not a clean way of resetting it. Basically, you're better off doing it from the keyboard reset because, because that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. And now one, please don't laugh. One here was, what's the chance of a PCI slot?
None. Basically, it's not.
I know, yeah.
A 500 gets a Zorro slot for free. Basically, it's 95% of the way there.
Exactly.
PCI, you need something like a mediator board, and that's complicated bit of hardware. It's very expensive, and it's only compatible with the 1200 of the boards that fit in that case.
Yeah.
So even then, it's not going to fit. It's not going to line up with any slots. The case is too small for it. It's basically just no.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that one as well, because people have asked me about, can I put a mediator board in? Well, no, because it's not a tower. It hasn't got all that space. I've designed a tower in the past. I know we haven't got the space. However, that's not to say that if we sell an awful lot of cases and there's an awful lot of people want to be able to do that, who knows, they may do a version.
Yeah.
I would say unlikely, purely because the position of where the expansion slot is to get that over and then have, it's a nightmare. It might even be that I'd have to redesign. It could almost be potentially, I'm thinking on the fly here now, it could almost be potentially that if I swapped the power supply to the other side of the machine and bought the bought the card base, swapped the power supply and the card base across, potentially you could do it and maybe have a couple of slots. But someone's got to design it, and then of course what will happen then, you're going to have issues with your CPU, putting your accelerator cards in. There's a lot of work to be done. It's alright if you're shipping hundreds of thousands of 1200s, it's worth doing, but when you've got a small number like this, probably never going to happen.
Basically, no. There are some nice MIDI-sized tower cases that you can get nowadays. They're expensive,
absolutely.
But you know that's the way to do it if you want a mediator.
Yeah, absolutely right. Buy a big one. I even said that in the Kickstarter. You know, quite often I said, "Well, look, if you want a tower, buy a tower." I mean, you know.
And if you want a desktop, buy a tower and put it on its side.
That was another way. Yeah. Right. So, here we go. Oh, there's a couple. Right. So this is a good question, but I think I know the answer here. The one from Jan. Rob, can you create a cherry-based keyboard with the 1200 layout, with the ribbon cable, etc., etc.? But one of them's already being done.
Kipper 2K is doing one of them, yeah. But because it's cherry-based, you can't use the Philip Lang keycaps because the A1200.net keyboards use Amiga keycaps. That's their thing, is they fit the original keyboards, and that's totally different to what cherry keyboards take. So, you know, you can probably maybe 3D print loads of little adapters that fit between them and let you use one keycap on the other type, but they're two totally different things. So, yeah, so the A1200.net keyboards and cherry keyboards, two different beasts altogether. But yeah, there is a cherry keyboard coming, and it will be compatible with the 1200. I may or may not have a preview of that at my Scottish Amiga meetup next week.
Yeah.
Slightly exclusive there. Yeah, there you go.
So I think, this comes back to this whole thing with these keycaps. I went to, there's a site called, and I forgot the bloody name, WASD Keyboards.
Yeah,
and
so they make cherry keycaps, yeah.
Absolutely, but you can customize them. And I ordered this from America. Oh God, I forgot what her name is now. There's a lady on the forum on the Facebook group, and she did a keycap and she designed everything. And so I got these made. She actually did a full size one with the numeric keypad as well, and they are really nice. And they'll go on a cherry key. So you can just get... Now, having said that, this keycap set it cost me about £30, something like that, and then probably 20 quid in shipping. So it's quite expensive, but I did get a nice keyboard with it. So hopefully when he does that, you'll then just be able to order them keycap settings. Now, again, that's one of the reasons when I go to China, I'm hoping to kind of meet some manufacturers while I'm out there, maybe with keyboards and that kind of thing, and see if we can get something going. But there's a lot of things. Funnily enough, there's a lot of things happening with keyboards. Other companies out there are aware the keyboard's a big issue for people.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people trying to, and we are talking, which I think is a big thing. We are all kind of talking, so we're not like, because it'd be stupid as reinventing the wheel. So luckily there is a lot of conversation going on about that. So hopefully stuff be going on. Now, what else have we got here?
There's a question from Mark there about the fan headers, and yeah, they're just a straight 12-volt connect. So
you might have to say it again, Rob. That's interesting. Poor network connection. Well, poor network connection. Hopefully, can you all hear me okay? Right, so we may... I'm not sure if we're losing Rob or not. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hang up. And I'm going to try again. Cancel. Right, bear with me. I'm just going to see if I can connect him again. Hello.
Hello.
Hiya. Yeah, sorry, we lost the connection, so it went all over the place. So everything you just said probably didn't get transferred. So yeah, do you want to repeat that again? Sorry.
Okay. So what was the question? Yes. So the fan headers, right? Yeah. There's no speed control. There's no speed monitoring. They're just standard 12-volt headers. But they are, yeah, the 12 volts, and any fan will run at full speed when it's connected to them. It's a standard connector. So yeah, that's fine. What else was I going to say about them? But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, so I think you can buy fan speed controllers if you want to control the speed, and then plug them in there for power, and then adjust them. So you know, I mean, I did ask if you can put fan headers on there, but obviously, you know, I don't expect everything on there. If you want speed control, there are ways that you can accommodate. People out there, when they get them, can accommodate that. But at least they're on there. That was, for me, was the most important thing, because there's no other way of powering the fans. I have to say, I don't think they're needed in an Amiga, unless you've got something really running hot. In fact, also, these are the fans. Let me just get this. I'm just going to show you. These are the fans that I'm using. Let me just see if I can show you the name like that. Okay. These are German fans, and they're called NB Black Silent fans. I will be selling these, or I'll tell people where to buy them. And it says silent fan, and I kind of laughed, and I thought, yeah. Don't know, they're actually really quiet. So even though, you know, small fans make more noise, we all know that. But these are very good quality ones, and they will be fairly quiet. So even if it's running at full pelt, it should be, you know, reasonably quiet. But again, there may be something you could do. Now, this is why could that be something you put a resistor in line just to drop the voltage, to slow them down?
You can, but it's not. I don't know. It's not really how it should be done. Most fans are designed to run basically using what's called pulse width modulation, which is sort of basically stepping 12 volts, 0 volts, 12 volts, 0 volts, and varying the duty cycle to vary the speed. Yeah. Because if you lower the voltage, you run out of torque quite quickly. And so then, you know, you might find that once this fan starts getting dirty, that it just doesn't run at all when it's running at low, when it's supposed to be running at low speed. So yeah, you can do that, but really you should have a proper fan. This is why I don't
design stuff. This is why I don't do electronics. It makes sense to me. It's a bit like pedaling slower. Right, so have we got any other questions here that I have missed? Because then we can let you get back to your family.
Oh yeah, you can get fan controllers on eBay for a couple of quid. Like they're not complicated things. It's just where do you put the knob for them? You know, it's just one of those things. Like I'm sure I have a box of them somewhere.
Right. Okay, Rob. So I think what we'll do is we've had you for an hour. I think we'll probably call it a day now. So you can get back to the family.
No worries.
Thanks very much for coming on. And
any last minute questions there to see.
If they're going to come up, with questions, then that's fine. I mean, the other thing, of course, is if anyone wants to, I can always pass on any questions to Rob.
Yeah, well, I'm in the Checkmate group as well. On Facebook,
so if you've got any questions, I mean, fire the questions on there. I know most people want to talk about the case and the colour. That's the probably half the thing is what they want. But thanks for a chance for a headphone microphone jack on the front panel. Yes, there is a chance. I'll come on to that later. I'm going to do general questions after this.
Cheers, Peter.
Rob, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We'll have another chat later on, but well, not tonight. Another time. Okay. This project. Well, look, let's be honest. People have to understand this project would not have happened without Rob. It's very important that people understand that because it makes no sense. It made no sense without being able to put, I knew, you know, back in the day, I knew I had to have internal cards and we need electronics. I could have probably done the LED. I could have probably blown up people's power supply with the LED board. I couldn't do the rest. So there was no way it was going to be done without Rob. So I can't thank you enough. And while I'm on my little island somewhere, smoking me cigarettes or whatever it is, I'll be thinking, no, not at all.
Good.
But Rob, it's been absolutely fantastic. Thanks for coming on tonight, and
no problem.
And I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you very much, Rob.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers, guys. Take care.
See you later.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Right. Okay, guys, now just bear with me a second and I'm going to come back and then I'll answer a few other questions. I just want to say goodbye to Rob because last time I took it off air, and he went with David and I hadn't killed his mic Bear with me a sec. Right. Okay, so has anyone got any more questions then? Because otherwise I'm going to go and sit downstairs on the TV with my wife and we're going to watch some telly. So have you got any questions? Let me see if there's any interesting questions. I'm sorry about this. I'll tell you what I might do actually. I might see if I can swap the camera and go back over to here. There we go. And yeah, okay. So I'm back on it. I think this might be working now. And if I kill that, what have I got? No, not that one. Where's the dance? No, that's not it. Oh, come on. Where's this screen? There we go. Okay. Have we got any questions? What I want to do is, let's boot this up. You need more monitors, yeah. Do you want to see my... Right, now that Rob's not here, actually, what I'll tell you what I'll do is, if I pop back to here, I'll just add, and you can have a look at what I have got in here. Device. Right. Oh, God, I don't want that there, do I? God, this is really rubbish today, isn't it? Paste. There you go. Right. So if I pick this up, you can have a look. Right. So if you all want to see my monitor, so recognise that? Yeah. I know this stupid front mic camera's going. Oh, do you know what? So there's my 3000. Oh, my 800 as well. And obviously there's my PC, my work thing, and my Mac, and there's my Checkmate, and over there is my 1200 and my 1000, and down there you can't see it, but over there is the rest of my kit. So let's kill that and come back. What we got here? Let's kill that. Oh, do you know what? These I'm gonna have to sort out my cameras because this is becoming a little bit of a joke. Right. God. So I'm being asked what am I using to switch my car. I use XSplit broadcast, but I think it's something wrong with my built-in webcam. When I've got a couple of webcams set up, it's not happy. So it's kind of, I don't know. Or it's probably Windows is doing it again. Look, it's probably Windows. In fact, actually, let's go back to this. If I go back, because this was working quite well, wasn't it? Let me. I'm just setting this up again. Do you know what? Right. Bear with me. This is an absolute nightmare. Right. There we go. Right. So, questions. I hate Windows. No, there's a long story on that one as well. Right, Steve Mann website and a suggested parts list tree would be good. Yeah, I've got. There's not actually that many parts, to be honest, but I will be. The site will be updated soon. But I've got more important things to do at the moment, as you're probably aware. Let me launch that up there. I have got quite a lot that I've got to do. So really, for God's sake. Do you know, I'm rapidly going off of Windows period. I mean, I was never a massive fan anyway. Screen capture, monitor capture. There we go. Right. Okay. What was I going to say? Their website. So the website, it needs some work. It's got quite a bit of work to be done, but let's take that off. Right. The website does need work, but the most important thing at the moment was getting the cases finished. I've now got all the designs are finished for the metalwork. All that's done. This week I'm concentrating on the plastics. So I've got to get the final sign-off. We've got things like to do with the injection mold about drafting and that kind of thing. So I've got all that kind of stuff to sort out, and that is much more important than the website. Once the plastics, the designs are completely nailed, and the Chinese company, once they approve them, they say they're good to go. They're going to make me another 3D printed version. They're going to send that over to me. I'm going to double test them. So I've only ever done one of these. I'm going to do another set because there's been quite a few changes. Nothing for the basics, but just some minor little changes like the switch and that kind of thing. So I've got all those changes to do, and then in the new year we start thinking about getting ready for manufacturing. So the website's taken a back seat because I just don't have time to do it. The one thing I have been doing, in fact, actually, you might want to see this. This might be a bit more interesting. Let me load something up you might actually find mildly interesting. Is the manual. I'm working on hopefully a good manual. It's still work in progress. There's a lot of work to be done on it. Let me get this up here. Okay, pop this on here. I'm just letting this load. Right, so I'm doing a proper manual. Okay, so it's going to be a nice ring bound manual. We're up to something like, I'm up to about 20. Oh no, about the manual at the moment, about 20 pages. Manual's probably going to go to 50-60 pages. How to set it up and explaining everything. So there's going to be a nice manual come with it. But with the Kickstarter versions, they're going to get I decided I'd put my story at the end of it, which was in David's book, the original version I did there. So as you can see, there's it's coming on. It's not perfect, but there's a lot of work to be done on it. So this is the section that was in David's book. But yeah, so the manual, hopefully the manual people will like that. We're doing a nice ring bound manual, so you'll be able to open it up and put it out, and I'm hoping it'll be, it's just something I want to make, to add some extra bits, and there's a couple of other surprises coming as well, but we'll come back to that later. But yeah, the website's taking a bit of a back seat, but I will catch up soon because I need to sort out all of the Kickstarter backers order exactly what they want, so I need to get that sorted. But I'd rather get the case actually made. Right, I want to get that done first. That's much more important. Yeah, well, I was switching camera. You mentioned a nice unboxing experience a few times in the past. Have you given us? Yes, I have. Not talking about it anymore because I don't want to spoil it. But yes, don't expect it to be like Apple. But we are working to make it so that when you get it, you're really pleased with it, not just because of the case, but the experience. And so I am fully aware of all that, and we are working towards that. And there's two or three of us, working on this. So hopefully we'll give you something you're going to be really pleased with. Expert broadcast. How's the missus? She's fine. We had quite a nice weekend, so we went out the other. No, went away for last weekend, so she's happy. So everything's good, but she's probably sitting there waiting for me to go down and watch Strictly tonight. Now I like my dancing, as you've probably seen me do it here, and so Strictly. So we got the Strictly results tonight, so I'm a massive Strictly fan. I like the Checkmate black box desktops you have on the site. Yeah, I can't wait to get one. I've got the case, but I haven't got the front. I can't wait to see the plastic in black. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So I agree with you there. No, but we need to specify which backplate. Yes, I agree. Horizontal. Now, as I said, there's 4. In fact, I've even got this in the manual. There's a picture of it here. At some point, there you go. There's 4 different types. They are all finished now. The top one, excuse me, gas from the beer. The top one was the one I finished on Friday, and that actually hasn't been tested. The Amiga ones have now got the original ones. Well, they're wrong. Them drawings, actually, to be fair. The Amiga ones have now only got 2 little 40mm fans. because the port that's underneath it, that horizontal output, needed to move up because it was in the way, and I've got this whole Pi thing we're doing with it as a second processor, and it was more important for that. And we 2 40mm fans is overkill, so they're rising up. So there's changes there. Yeah, so the website, yes, it's coming. Okay, bear with me. I doubt if it'll be ready till the new year. It probably won't be till January. But you know, so right. Many rings to bind them. Yeah, found out yesterday. Amiga me's girlfriend. Really? You only just figured that one out? Never too hard to learn. That's pretty late, Steve, man. Oh, go ahead, say. Just need to know, will you sell the case without the plastics? Why would I sell the case without the plastics? I need an answer. So this is Zackle. Why would I sell it without the plastics? Because that would be silly. Especially with injection molded, plastics are actually quite cheap. It's the metal that's really expensive. So if you bought it without the plastics, I'd probably sell it to you for a tenner cheaper, 20 quid cheaper. But then you've got no fronts. I'm not sure what that question means. Oh, okay, you've got a 3D printer. Forget it. Sorry, absolutely forget it. Firstly, you won't have a printer is as good as this one, okay? And you will not be able to print that because it's not going to be. It just won't. Actually, it might. It'd look horrible, and you're going to save about 10 quid. In fact, I literally would only take off a tenner. So, and the plastics are going to look so good, you just will shoot yourself in the face. No, you're going to want the plastics. You won't want to 3D print it. But on the 3D printing, all the internal bits that there's going to be different bits that you can make. I'll be designing. Hopefully, other people will design to make adapters. You'll be able to print them. So all those little bits you'll be able to print. Or if you want to do a new front plate, you can 3D print yourself a new front plate. Someone mentioned about can you put an LCD in it? Now I'm pretty sure they make 5¼ bay LCDs. I'm vaguely remember seeing them. So you could fit one of them. What are we going to... It's just bent metal out of plastic. Yeah. It's really complex, bent metal. Seriously, really complex. If you have, very few people have seen. Oh god, it's not very good light, is it? It's a very complex piece of metal. I mean, I know the stamps are no big deal, but the bends and everything, the way it works, there's quite a lot involved there. It's a bit more than just a. I won't tell Henderson's you said that. Right, what we got here? Find a bridge board software for Amiga has Pi bridges ready. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I was a bit confused on what the bridge board bit meant. Okay, I'll go over this again. Right, let me get some props. Right. I'll tell you what. Bear with me. Sorry. You don't want to be looking at there. Let me just twist that down a bit. That might actually be better now. Oh, it might be better, yeah. Right. Let me give an explanation of this Pi thing. Now, for me, if you've got an Amiga like that sitting over there, right? I've got a really fast Amiga, but the one thing you can't do is browsing on it's rubbish, and even the word processors are not up to date. But if you put something like a Pi, if you've got one of these, you can run a really good browser experience, YouTube, and everything you want, 1080p video, tons of stuff. Now, I thought, well, okay, well, in the old days, I had this product called, and yes, I will be doing a video on this, okay? Siamese system. I did this many years ago, and it shipped really well in Germany. I'm doing a similar kind of thing again, but what I'm basically doing is this. This gets mounted inside the case, and this goes in it as well. Now what this is, if you can't tell already, it's an HDS, 3 HDMI ports and 1 output. So internally you'll be able to plug in a couple of HDMIs. So for example, the HDMI output from the Pi goes into one, the Amiga goes into the other, so you need HDMI Amiga, remember? And then comes out. Now, what will happen then is there'll be a switch. This switch here is connected to a, we're not exactly sure yet on the motherboard, I think it's on the Gary. We've already got the software written, and you can use the single Amiga keyboard and mouse, one monitor, switching between the modes, and it'll be just like the old Siamese system where you type and so basically it becomes almost like a virtual machine kind of affair, but with hardware. That I think is going to be quite a big thing, but I'm keeping quiet about it at the moment because I'm busy with the case. So later on I will come out with a lot more information about that. I can cut 3mm polycarbonate if anyone needs it. Honestly, oh, okay. What's hook and base? The metal is bent. Built a few. I buy that at the action for you. Yeah. This little. Yeah. This little. If you're talking about that, that was £5, and I'll give you the where you can buy it from. You'll need the little plate to mount the whole lot into the inside. At the moment, it's 3D printing is about 20 quid, something like that. But we'll see if we can do to make an improvement on that. But yeah, so I think that's going to be quite a big thing. Plugged in one of these, and of course you don't have to use a Pi. You could use one of the others. But having it as a second processor for the Amiga, I think is going to be, I think, really useful personally. I mean. You could actually build a machine that you can then use, period. If you don't have massive heavy usage, you could have your Amiga and have the Pi and pretty much do most of the things you'd want to do, which I think is quite cool. Right. No hardware connection between the Pi and the Amiga. No, it's networking. It's Ethernet. It's literally would be a network cable between them. That's all it is. Everything goes over IP. It's the same as the old Siamese. It's all IP based, except for this where the switch. There's usually a button. I broke it off. There's usually a button on here. Switches between them, and that'll be controlled on a little connector onto the. I think it's the Gary chip. We were doing it. Right. So. Right. What I'm going to say is, if you've got any more questions, happy to answer. But if there's no more, I'm going to go and spend some time with the wife. Because as usual, she's an absolute angel. But she's sitting down there, she's probably waiting to see Strictly. So you got any more questions? Let's just make sure I'm not missing. No. Ah, okay. Right. On that last question there. Here we go. Right. Okay. Can you all see these? Right, this is Ulasun. Forgive me for pronouncing it wrongly. These you can buy, right, pretty cheaply. They've got huge crate leads, okay? It's a bit of a pain. But they will go on front, and in the front panel, one of the reasons for the gap on the front panel, I think you can see it on the picture. One of the reasons was so you can slot one of these in, and there's mounting screws. You'll need a 3D printed adapter to hold this in place, and it'll literally go to the front, and then you can plug them in the front. That's the whole point of that, yeah? So the answer is yes, and there's a USB 2 one and a USB 3 one. That's more for the PCs than the Amiga, though, to be fair. But you know, you can mock things up. And I also thought about compact flash connecting. When am I next on? Oh, I'll do another one in a couple of weeks. Wait a couple of weeks. I'll do one before. I'll do another one this month. No problem. Maybe a Christmas special. Will there be more shows? Yes. If not, Merry Christmas. No, I'm sure I'll do another one this year. Whether before Christmas or after, I don't know yet. But maybe do one in a couple of weeks, just before we go off for Christmas. I used Pi 3 as a home computer for a couple of months. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, you know, the Pi 3 is not the super fast machine. but it's a good little Linux computer. And to be honest, if you use it kind of solves that problem from the Amiga's perspective. The only thing really is, I mean, I'm not going to kid you. I mean, I have a high-speed machine here. I use my day job, but do you know what? If I didn't do that and I was retired, an Amiga and a Pi probably be fine. You know, he says that. Probably want to build himself another VR machine, but I think for a machine, it's actually quite nice. Because speed isn't everything. If there will be a Christmas show, then the audience demands a Christmas hat. No, I don't do Christmas hats. Everyone says about me wearing. I hate Christmas jumpers, and I really hate Christmas jumpers. And so my family kind of joked, "Oh, we'll buy you a Christmas jumper." Yeah, I'll burn it. I won't wearing it. So you probably won't see me with a Christmas hat. I might be able to sort out another Christmas dance, but you know, that'll be about it. Is the DVD slot moulded also been extruded in the same mould? Is the DVD slot? Yeah, the slot one's happening. Well, that's just a prototype. It's still happening. The problem we got is actually getting all the drives. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. I found a supplier, got a load of them, but maybe a few problems. But I'm still doing the actual mould is being done. The designs are off. That is actually happening. Even though technically we didn't actually reach 90,000, but we was only about 500 under. So I'm not that horrible. But yeah, so I will be doing that. But it's getting hold of the bloody things, which is a problem. So if you know, I've mentioned it before, but if you can buy one, buy one. And also because I've got all the adapters inside working now, so IDE. So it's got a mini. Is it mini? Oh God, is it mini SATA to a normal SATA adapter, and then you have to plug a SATA to IDE adapter onto it. It gets really complicated, but it works well. No Christmas sweaters. Forget it. No chance. I hate them. Really hate them. Well, they might. Are they obsolete? I mean, most people. You're talking about one of these, aren't you? There. Yeah. I'm with you. That black desktop is not crazy paved Mandelbrot texture gloss. Yeah, it's going to be probably more of a silk to match the metal worker. It's not going to be shiny glossy thing, because the 3000 never was. But it's going to be nice 3000. But it trust me, it will be nice. I'll make sure it's nice. But if you had it glossy, it'd look horrible. It really would look horrible. So not overly glossy. Can't wait to have internal MIDI ports. Yeah, because I've got one of these. Well, I actually made sure the access plate was bigger, because I've got one of these, and I'm going to just screw it into the back. So yeah, you might have to probably make a plate to hold it in place. But yeah, you can have a MIDI internally then. Also, I've added on the back of the case the DIN socket for keyboards. So I've got that on there. That's on the back of the Amiga panels now, on both of them. So if you want to use that, you can screw one of them in. So I'm listening to people there. I will ask my wife a Christmas jumper with my other girlfriend is an Amiga on it. Yeah, actually, you probably survived that one. Yeah, well done, Steve. You might actually make it. Right. So there's no more sensible questions. Right. I'm going to call it a day. Thanks again. Thanks for turning up. I will see about doing another one. Just keeping the user groups, and I'll bung it for all the user groups. I'll try and do another one before the end of the year, either just before or just after Christmas. And we will see. Okay. Steve, right. Okay. Dave's asked, which Amiga mainboard would you recommend as a 500? 500. Because then you can have this. Yeah. So you can have that, and you can plug that in, and you can use a Zorro card, which you can't do for the 1200. However, with this, I mean, I think the ideal one is a 500 with a Vampire and then a Zorro slot. That's what that is. Yeah, and it's absolutely fantastic. But I know other people have different opinions. That's why this world's so good. Everyone has different opinions. Okay, thanks so much, guys. I will talk to you soon. And that's it. See you later. Thanks a lot. And I'm going to turn this off in. Thanks for hosting the show. I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, see you later, guys. And it's been good. Thanks for turning up anyway. And I will now say